Shalom. First and foremost, we would like to say call Haloyim, Yahweh Ba Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba Hashem Rechak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, the great millstone that have taught us this truth, who do rule and who do teach will. Peace and salutations to the hopefully elect. Shalom. So here it is, man. You see this caption that I have up right now, because I'm recording on my phone and brothers may be recording on their phone. So here it is, Fan says former NFL quarterback Michael Vick faced more backlash for his dog incident than the people involved with the Jeffrey Epstein situation. So yes, man, Michael Vick has been railroaded. All right, you ever seen somebody get ran over and they fast forward and they put in reverse, fast forward, put in reverse. Hell, they even put a fucking few bullet holes in this nigga, man. That's how hard they railroaded Michael Vick, man. But
can I just make a point real quick? Every time that Esau gets caught in a debacle, as you say, he always throws something in a way to catch the people's attention, whether it be Diddy, whether it be Bill Cosby, whether it be a Beyonce or Jay-Z situation,
Michael Jackson.
They throw these different situations to ultimately to deter the attention away from them, man. That's what this devil has always done. That's what this devil continues to do to this very day.
Mm-hmm. I got one.
Yeah, what's up?
Come. This is the book of Revelations, chapter 12, verse 10, and it says, "And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our power and the power of his Hamashiach. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our power day and night." Like the brother was saying, man, all right, every time Esau gets in trouble, every time he gets inside the debacle, all right, Esau likes to put a black and brown face up there, ready to be a Bill Cosby, all right, ready to be a Michael Jackson, ready to be a Kanye West, all right, or so on and so forth. Like, for example, Michael Vick that we going into, man, all right?
Yeah, because Esau, they categorize our people, man. They have our people in different categories like what? Violent, predators, things like that, abusers. Esau, loves to categorize, Jake, man.
Yeah. It says real quick, if I just might back up that point, because it says in Deuteronomy that we was gonna be a byword, and in this captivity, the people that are further pushing the bywords upon us are Esau, Edom. As far as the past couple of generations, he's the one who surnamed you black. He's the one who surnamed you African American, and everything else that Esau, Edom named the rest of the tribes, such as being Mexican and whatsoever. But it says real quick, it says, "And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee." So this is just this is why we must come to Yahweh Shai and not trust in this oppression, not trust in the ways of this of our oppression. Why? Because he's gonna further our affliction more and more. He know that he have a short time. So when it comes to him being found out, he don't want to be found out. He's going to continue to accuse Jake. He's going to continue to point the finger and push it off on other people, more so our people. Why? Because he know that he is ultimately the things that he call us. He's ultimately black. He is a nigger, by nature. His ass naughty by nature. Fuck him up.
Hey, I got one real quick.
Real quick before we jump back.
This book of Psalm 73 and 5. Mm-hmm. They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men, because here you have it, man. We're in Esau's glory right now, man. That glory is, fastly falling down, but we're in Esau society right now, man. And being in Esau society, he, the law works in his favor. He ultimately gets the best of things, man. But ultimately, why? By Jake being at the bottom, always accused of certain things, man. And they're not in trouble as other men, man.
Right.
So ultimately, what? Esau, they can do things and ultimately get away with it, man.
Right. And he's the one who had the power to surname himself white, to be looked at as something in the world. When really, he's the base of men,
He's the devil, man. All right. All he do is lie. All he do is murder. All he do is destroy, man. All right. But he want to put that narrative on us, man. wants them to call evil good and good evil, as it tells you in Isaiah chapter 5, verse 20. But here it is, man. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 94, verse 20. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law? So Esau, he's in rulership, man. You know, Job chapter 9, verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked, who covereth the face of the judge thereof, if not where, and who is he? All right. So of course he's not in trouble as other men. Of course he controls, who gets locked up or whatnot, because he's in rulership. So if his people get in trouble, all they do is get a slap in the wrist and get let go. But when it comes to Jake, man, they get fucking railroaded, man. Look at the Epstein situation. All right. And I believe he had a big part in it. All right, along with the higher echelon. All right, the elites. All right, Lucifer, as it tells you in Isaiah the 14th chapter. All right, the light bearers, the enlightened ones. The wisdom of this world. All right, we already know, man. Because when they own people get in trouble, oh yeah, we're gonna sweep this under the rug. All right, we're gonna throw this this so-called black nigga on the bus. We're gonna throw this Hispanic nigga on the bus and this Native American nigga on the bus, man.
Right. And they're more so to look upon them and talk about them because we are the ones that's painted as black. You know?
So yes, man, you control the justice system and all this other stuff, man. So you control who goes to jail or not. All right. So Michael Vick, man. All right, he got killed for having a dog fighting ring. All right, just to take the heat off of Esau, and what they did. Personally, I believe in WWE during that time period, in which this time period that I'm speaking of, where Michael Vick got locked up for the dog fighting ring, was to take the heat off of Esau, that Vince McMahon, and I'm just speaking. Don't quote me on this, man. All right, I'm telling you, man. That Vince McMahon had a big part. Him and the guy that had a big. All right, this guy that used to work for WCW with Chris Benoit. All right, it's a whole story, man. But I'm gonna cut it short. But here it is. Chris Benoit supposedly took a woman from the Satanists. All right, that was in WCW along with Chris Benoit. All right, and basically the Satanists, all right, sacrificed Vince McMahon and them got together and sacrificed Chris Benoit and his family, basically. So yeah, man. So basically,
Keep going.
allow me to keep on going in there. Verse 21. They gather themselves together against the soul of the righteous and condemn the innocent blood.
See, this is what they do, by them having that power, to basically control the narrative. This is what they do. So, back at referring to Psalms 83, how all the nations came confederate together. It's in Esau Edom's nature to just point the finger at you, Jake. No matter how innocent you are, look at what they did to so-called Bill Cosby. He ain't never been a so-called aggressive figure. He never been a so-called a nigga figure, man. Look what they did to that man. Look at Cuba Gooding Jr. You know what I'm saying? But we, as Israelites, we are the ones that are just put underfoot, of these people, man, and they're gonna constantly try to condemn us, man.
I got one real quick.
Go ahead.
This is the book of Ezekiel 36:3. Therefore prophesy and say, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, because they have made you desolate and swallowed you up on every side, that ye might be a possession unto the residue of the heathen, and ye are taken up in the lips of talkers, and are an infamy of the people. And what do these heathens ultimately be saying about Jake, man? Hey, these niggers, these savages, hey, they can't do right. Their culture is trash, which Jake culture is trash, man, because ultimately who gave it to him? Esau Edom.
Right.
So ultimately what? Everything that our people have ultimately, the lifestyles that our people are ultimately living is ultimately because of Esau Edom giving them that culture, man.
Right.
And ultimately what? Everybody turns around and say Jake is a monster, Jake is a savage, Jake is a predator. And ultimately what? They get all that from Esau Edom, man. So what? Jake is an infamy among the people, man.
Yeah. It says in Proverbs 4:16, it's like he was done on it.
Yeah,
It's Proverbs 4:16. It says, for they sleep not except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall. And the biggest way here in Babylon, man, this place called America, this a lot of a lot of the wickedness that they have done is through the narrative and through the philosophies that they've put out into the world that they make our people believe in. So it says, "For they eat the bread of wickedness, and drink the wine of violence. But the path of the just is as a shining light that shineth more and more unto the perfect day. The way of the wicked is as darkness; they know not at what they stumble." See, these people don't even know that your oppressors, his whole mo is against you, man. These people, they're not gonna sleep unless they have caused the sun to fall. So more so, they don't want to be exposed for who they are, because they are the wicked by nature, and they know that. But what they're gonna do is spin it off on you, because in this world, it's an illusion of righteousness and wickedness, but it's not according to knowledge, man. So they put light for darkness and darkness for light. So you have people like Michael Vick and all these other people that fell victim to basically being accused of something, and being judged unrighteously here in Babylon, but it's all the judgment of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, because these are the things that these devils they have to pay for when our power come back, man.
And just to say this also, Esau has something that is called fall men. Ultimately, when they get caught up in a situation, like I had mentioned earlier in the lesson, they can ultimately throw, hey, Diddy, Bill Cosby, Michael Vick. When ultimately they get caught on a particular situation, they can just throw these figures in your face. Hey, look what he did. And ultimately what? Just to disguise what they ultimately is doing behind the scenes, man.
And that's the only reason why they even hire you, Jake, man.
Yep.
They hire you, Jake, the ones that look how you look, the ones that act the way you act, because they know that you have some type of influence upon the people that they weak ass don't have. They know that they aren't the salt of the earth, So when it comes to our so-called kings, because we ain't kings right now, man. We not, and a lot of our kings, man, like you say, man, they act like niggas because they got their ways from Esau Edom, man. They clone Tyrone, man. And, they fell victim to these ways because they thought that they were receiving better, but no, it's not receiving better. You try to join hand in hand with the dang on devil to get a crumb off of a whole pie that this man have stolen.
Yeah, because he even talks about that in the parable of Lazarus and the rich man. The desire to be fed by the crumbs of the rich man's table. Right. That's what these Jays do. They sell out to ultimately what, to get these insignificant benefits, man.
Dainties.
Dainty. That's not going to lead anywhere. But if I may, I did have a quick one. This book of Lamentations 2:15. All that pass by clap their hands at thee. They hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem, saying, "Is this the city that men call the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth?" Because what, and I believe it's in Deuteronomy, we're supposed to be that wise and understanding nation in the sight of these heathens, man. But ultimately, what, we're looked at as what, the scum of the earth, a piss poor savages, scums, whatever the case may be, man. That's how we're looked at by these other heathen, man. I believe it was you that quoted earlier, Shari. What's that, Psalms 83?
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately talking about, our enemies, man. They came together to ultimately to subdue the nation of Israel, right, man.
Yeah.
So that's what these individuals do, man.
Yep, they want to they came Confederates to take the name Israel away from us, man. They want to take your name away and say your name black. You go into these definitions of these words, there's nothing good that comes from being black, man, and being void of light,
Just a little bit more to this. Verse 16, it says, "All thine enemies have opened their mouth against thee. They hiss and gnash the teeth. They say, we have swallowed her up. Suddenly, this is the day that we look for.
Mm-hmm.
We have found and we have seen it." Because ultimately, what, starting with these Edomites, they want our people in this low condition because they know if we stay in this low condition, they can stay in rulership. Yep. But we know that's not the case, man.
Yep. Yep, and ultimately, like going back to the vain philosophies and doctrines that they put out into the world, back that story that the apostles always like to say, how, the guys came up to the camp and basically said they spent billions or trillions or however much money it was to keep that away from them, and that once again that they wanted to swallow us up. They wanted to take our name away from us so that we don't know that we are kings and princesses, man.
I got one. Just the book of Judah, chapter 5, verse 17. Just to back up the point, on what y'all was bringing out and how these other nations, they want to, be confederate against us, cut us off of being a nation. So this the book of Judah, chapter 5, verse 17. And these are heathens talking. And whilst they sinned not before their power, they prospered before the power that hateth iniquity was with them. So yeah, man, when Yahweh Shema is with us, it's because we follow the law, statutes, commandments. But of course, we're not gonna follow it perfectly because we in these chains of darkness, man. We in these decrepit ass bodies. All right. But when they departed from the way which he appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles very sore, and were led captives into a land that was not theirs. All right, which proves that we've been scattered to the four winds of the earth due to our transgressions of not following the law, statutes, commandments, according to the book of Deuteronomy, 28th chapter and the 15th verse. All right, going to the curses. If we don't hearken unto the law, statutes, commandments, man, then all these curses will come upon us and overtake us. And it did. And the temple of their power was cast to the ground, and their cities were taken by the enemy. So, man, the land of Israel, has been taken over by Esau, man. They appointed their lands unto themselves, according to the book of Ezekiel, the 36th chapter. But now are they returned to their power and are come up from the places where they were scattered, and have possessed Jerusalem, where their sanctuary is, and are seated in the hill country, for it was desolate. That's talking about the times that we're coming in, man. When Yahweh Shai comes back, all right, that's when we're going to get our land back, man. All right, then on top of that, man, we're going to, Lord willing, if we're part of the elect, we get beamed up. We get, come. But here it is, man. Now, therefore, my Lord and governor, if there be any error against the people, and they sin against their power, let us consider that this shall be their ruin, and let us go up and we shall overcome them. But if there be no iniquity in their nation, let my Lord now pass by, lest the Lord defend them and their power before them, and we become a reproach before all the world. So here it is, man. All right. If we sin against our power, all right, and every time we did, they haven't fought allow our enemies to, to overcome us, man, to overthrow us. But if our power before us and our enemies come, all right, against us, they become a reproach and embarrassment, all right, to the whole world.
Right, that's why they throw sin in front of our face, man, to get us to keep going off that. Ultimately, what Yahweh Shem Shai want to be for our behalf.
Yeah.
This is the heathen's thoughts, man.
Yeah, look what they doing. Look what they doing over there. And this is why they scattered, like they deal with scattering us and keeping us in these enclosed neighborhoods and stuff, because they know that they give us the guns, the drugs. They know the gangs. They know that our people are going to continue to destroy themselves, man. But the whole earth is destroyed under the hand of Esau, either, man. Ain't nobody safe. But I have to close the scripture.
That's all I have.
Micah. Let's get that Micah. And we end it right here. This the book. This the closing scripture right here. This is it. This the book of Micah, chapter 2, verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. It's talking about the elites of Esau, the 13 banking families, man. The elites, the illuminated ones, so to speak, man. They can't go to sleep unless they cause trouble. All right, by putting the guns, the drugs, the alcohol, all right, dressed up in black and brown faces, all right, according to being in the hood, so on and so forth, and start a gang war, all right, and they cover fields and take them by violence and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. All right, they came over here, all right, oppressed Gad, Reuben, Issachar, and all the other tribes over here, man, bro. So they came over here and oppressed the rest of us, man. All right, so on and so forth, man. This is the same devils, man. All right, that people go to, and but anyway, man, you get the point. So with that, Lord willing, that was edifying. We would like to say, call Haloyim, Yahweh Ba Hashem, Yahweh Shai Ba Hashem Rechak. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that have taught us this truth, who do rule and who do teach well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. Shalom, Kwam Yashamo, or Yasha Allah, most importantly, Abba Ball.
Well. I should be blinking, bro. I hope it stops.